Hi, welcome to Live with a Coaching Mindset, a podcast where we explore how leaders unlock followers' potential. I am Dr. Damian Goldvarg, and I am very excited to discuss my new book, Live with a Coaching Mindset.
Hi, everyone. I'm Elaine Padilla. I'm also a coach, and I will be the host of this podcast. We hope that you find this space inspirational and thought provoking. Let's get into it.
Welcome to Live with a Coaching Mindset. We meet with Elaine twice a month to discuss the chapters of my book, Lead with a Coaching Mindset. And today we are going to be discussing our chapter 4, that is about contracting and agreement. And in particular, we are going to be focusing on creating conditions for cultural competence and how leaders pay attention and invest in having culturally competent teams. So, Elaine, great to work with you today.
Yeah, good to see you. So Damien, for those that are not familiar with cultural competence, like what does that mean? Tell us more about that.
Well, first, I think it's important to define what is culture because
Okay.
people talk about culture in different ways. And one simple way for me to understand culture is to understand it as when a group of people share
Mhm.
similar beliefs, values, rituals, they have in common an experience that they may feel they belong to that specific group.
Mhm.
And so it's not only ethnicity, it's not only what country are you from,
Mhm.
but it's also about can be religion, can be age, can be generation,
Mhm.
can be sexual orientation, level of abilities. Like in some way, you belong to a group of people who will have similarities and also differences with other groups. Now, to the extent that we are aware of differences and similarities, we can be more effective working together.
Mm. You Tell me about the importance of difference within a group.
Well, when you have differences in a group, there are different perspectives and ways of working, and that enrich and enhance the work. Sometimes there may not be agreement because of that, because people are coming from different mindsets and
Mhm.
different values, different cultures, and that may create sometimes differences and conflict, what can be productive if people respect each other and are willing to move forward, even when they are not 100% convinced or agreeing with what needs to be done. But you understand that including other people's perspectives, values, ways of working will enhance and enrich the outcome. So I think that that is the key challenge working with differences. But I do believe when people really appreciate and value this idea that differences are good,
Mhm.
people embrace these differences from a place that, okay, you have to think like me, you need to be like me, and if you don't, there is something wrong with you. That's it. That's the different mindset.
Yeah, I know sometimes there's all these different perspectives, but
Mhm.
I know I've read that there's research that shows that there's increased like innovation.
Yeah.
It does take longer for there to be like consensus and agreement, but as there's discussion with these different points of view, it leads to more innovation. So I love
Yeah.
that. Mhm.
And the world is a diverse place. So to the extent that we can enhance, embrace it,
Yeah.
and learn how to deal and navigate these differences, the happier we be in our relationships and in the work environment.
Yeah. It makes for a more interesting world for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. So you also talk in the book about the how this cultural competence, like what it does for a team. Like tell me more about the positive outcomes aside from more innovation. What else can you expect to find?
Well, in the book, I talk about different benefits, how teams benefit. And number one is what you were talking about, the creativity and the being inventive, and that will be a very important one. Also, enhancing the performance because
Mm,
people bring different perspectives, so the outcomes may be better because people are learning from different way of thinking and working and perspective.
mhm,
So enhancing team performance, engagement. If people are
mm,
feeling valued and respected, they're more engaged. are more willing to bring their own ideas,
Hmm.
expand the market reach, because I think that people want diverse teams, working with diverse teams. Sometimes people wonder, okay, who are the participants, who are the members of this team? And also brand builds a brand, a positive image of all of these different people working together, collaborating and enriching the process. So these are some of the benefits of for the team and the creativity you were talking before to innovation key.
You you talk about a Japanese a company, and I believe is an American. You spoke with an American about their
Yeah.
experience working with a potential customer that was Japanese. Tell us about that interaction and that and what he learned from that experience.
Yeah, that's a good example, and you see that very often. People working with people from different organizations and cultures and
Yeah.
believing that they may share the same way of thinking about things and working, and sometimes maybe misunderstandings. So that's
Yeah.
the reason why it's so important to get to understand people from different cultures. And what is tricky though is that you want to get to learn about different ways of working, but at the same time, each person is unique.
Mhm.
So you cannot say, okay, Latinos are like that, Asians are like that. No, every person is a human being who is very different. So you have to be careful with stereotyping and putting people in under a label. But at the
Mhm.
same time, you want to learn about cultures and conditions because when they are different, if you do not pay attention to that, that can be experienced as a lack of respect. Like for example, once I was in Brazil and I was teaching a class, and to enhance the class, I was saying, and it's important to do that. Like I was doing like this, that like this gesture,
Uh-huh.
like for reinforcing.
Yeah.
And I don't do that very often. I don't know why that day I was doing that. I was just making, and it has a sexual connotation.
Oh no.
And then during the break, somebody came to me and said, Damian, don't do that here. I said, okay, I'm sorry. And then I felt, Ellen, oh, I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back to the class. I felt so ashamed. It's kind of sometimes you don't know what you don't know, and sometimes we
True.
learn from these kind of experiences.
Yeah.
But I believe that it's better to learn and then see what happened. Like I remember a trip to Japan with a colleague of mine when I was in the board of directors of ICF. At that time, the president wanted to be culturally competent, so he took a class about how to work in Japan, from an
Hmm.
American perspective, just
Yeah.
showing in some way commitment to build a relationship, in genuine interest in being as effective as possible. And so this is a good example of a leader who really wants to be successful and want to be respectful and want to understand and learn. So he took this class, and one of the things he learned was that compared to Americans, Japanese are more distant, they don't touch you,
Mhm.
but this was a coaching association. And coaches are a little bit different than everybody else. Like coaches who work helping others, supporting people most of the time, not every time, but most of the time, the culture of the coaching world is warm and caring. And so he got there, and these Japanese coaches came to him and hugged him. And he said, everything that I learned, this is not what I learned. This is not what I learned. I don't know. So all of that class that he got was not very helpful at that time because everything he learned didn't meet the experience he had with the people there.
That
So
that yeah, that's so interesting because there's the sort of general culture of the country, but then there's also like a subculture, like you said, of the coaches. But how would it be different if it was, one of the auto manufacturers or food production company? It would have been, like you said, that distance and not getting down, having fun or getting to know each other for a while before getting down to business. But yeah, what a great example. It must have been quite
yeah,
a
so
shock
so
for
so
him.
I think it's a paradox. I think I like to think in this way, paradoxically, because in one way you want to learn about different cultures, and
Mhm.
on the other way each person is unique. So if we
Yes.
think of a curve, people fall in this curve in different parts. Like I have
Yeah.
another colleague of mine that that is a coach, and she's Chinese Canadian.
Hmm.
And she doesn't identify with the Chinese parts as
Hmm.
much
Yeah.
in terms of regular and stereotypes about Chinese women in particular.
Hmm.
So she doesn't like that people think that she may be in a specific way because she just is Chinese
Yeah.
or from Chinese background. So
Yeah.
it's interesting in the way that people fall in the in the curve in terms
And
of to
then
what extent they are close or far from the other people in the same culture.
true, true. And then the last little bit is how much is the counterpart leaning into our culture, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So they may reach out to shake your hand and you're bowing, because they're trying to. So it's nice. Sometimes it's like coming together,
Mm.
right? Sometimes it might be one leaning into the other, but sometimes it might be both cultures leaning into the other person's culture. So that's beautiful to see.
And there are even differences in cultures inside the countries. Like you see in the United
Mhm.
States,
Yeah,
sometimes there is a difference in the
true,
culture in the East Coast, West Coast, South, Midwest.
true.
And
Mhm.
like that, there are differences in all countries.
Mhm. Mhm.
And for example, in Argentina, men kiss each other in the cheek. And this is something that my partner in America said, oh, that's very strange, men kissing each other like that.
Yeah.
So there are different traditions
Mhm.
and ways of working. And even for me, when I moved to the United States, I had to be a little bit less warm because I used to hug everybody. That's not
Mm.
appropriate. So I had to put my distance. I was told, "Okay, you need to put your distance." So we learn also.
Yeah.
You need to be open to learning
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
open. See, we make a mistake to apologize and to move on. But I have had experiences in the past where you do something that you're not supposed to,
Mhm.
and if people know that you are generally doing it without knowing, they forgive you
True.
fast. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks everyone for joining us again. Today, we covered cultural competence, the how we can kind of slow things down, but also lead to just more innovation. It fosters trust and collaboration if you truly respect the differences that exist, and but it enhances team performance. There's also a benefit to the organization when there's those diverse perspectives are integrated into decision making, and then we also heard about some of the funny things that happen when different cultures come together. So thank you again for being here, and we'll see you next time.